Good evening and welcome to APTN National News Weekend. I'm Sav Jonesa. Today we take a special look back at art, music, and athletic stories from the past year. Recently, the Toronto Raptors teamed up with the city's Transportation Commission to showcase Indigenous athletes from across the country. Tamara Pimentel reports.
Anishinaabe basketball player Emily Mandamin is one of 8 athletes being featured in the campaign, which celebrates Indigenous athletes in Canada. From the Iskatewazaghigan First Nation in northwestern Ontario, Mandamin is enrolled with the Manitoba Bison's basketball program.
At a young age, there's not a lot of representation to look up to. Personally, that's something that I struggled with, finding somebody that I could relate to and finding somebody that I could talk to or look to for guidance. And so I think that's kind of been the message I've been trying to convey, as well as other athletes at a high level, trying to show that we are here and playing high-level basketball and high-level sports is a thing for us.
The Raptors partnered with the Toronto Transportation Commission for the campaign. Buses and streetcars throughout the city show photos of Indigenous athletes making history in Canada.
Well, that's been our whole goal so far, is telling our stories and talking about the things that we had to go through in order to find our place within sport and wellness. Sport can be a way of medicine and can be a way of life. Oftentimes in Indigenous communities, we find ourselves struggling with substance abuse, mental health issues, poverty. I'm a product of that, and I struggled a lot with my mental health at a young age, but I often found my way at the basketball court. You know, sport can be a happy avenue for us in our future.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A new music collaboration between Crystal Shanda and the Sultans of String brings together Indigenous and non-Indigenous culture and music. The Res is one of the singles off the Sultans of String's new album, Walking Through the Fire, which was released in September. The album features a number of collaborations with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit artists across Turtle Island. Shanda, who hails from Wikwemikong First Nation and Manitoulin Island in Ontario, has numerous award wins and nominations, and said back in August that the project is a reminder to be proud of who you are.
I hope that they'll remember, whether you're from a res or from a small town, I hope it makes you remember your families and your hometowns and your childhood and the beautiful parts about it, not just the bad parts. And hold on to those beautiful parts and let it inspire you. And always remember that, if you grew up through struggles and hardships, remember you are from a family of survivors. Don't ever forget that, and rise above all the negative stuff in your future and move forward and be proud of where you come from.
Where are all the women might be a question you ask yourself when looking at the art on museum and gallery walls. But a summer exhibit at the Manitoba Indigenous Cultural Education Centre in Winnipeg answered that question by focusing solely on Indigenous female artists. Titled, Where Are All the Women?, the exhibit explored the art made by Indigenous women over the course of the center's almost 50-year history. It featured artistic mediums from jingle dresses to birch bark biting, and explains the importance each artist holds in her craft through artist biographies. Exhibit curator Danielle Mason says it's a great way to learn about female creators who we might not hear of otherwise in the mainstream.
I know for me growing up, the only people I saw on the walls were like Van Gogh and Picasso, and just these like very status quo male artists that didn't really have a lot of diversity or representation for me personally. And a lot of the artists that we have featured in this exhibit kind of share that sentiment, where they didn't see anybody who looked like them on the walls, or see any names that they could kind of relate to. So we wanted to kind of focus on representing not only like women, but like the minorities especially.
It was International Literacy Day in September. The Council of Federation Literacy Award hands out one award to a winner in each province and territory. An illustrator with a spark for helping children and youth to engage with traditional languages was honored in Yukon. Our reporter Sarah Connors has this.
Illustrator Susan McCallum's life passion is to help keep First Nations languages alive and thriving, and she's done just that. The artist has illustrated dozens of First Nations children's books in several Yukon First Nations languages during her 40-plus year career. Her dedication to language is why she was chosen for this year's Council of the Federation Literacy Award.
My heart is full. It's wonderful.
McCallum says her interest in promoting language was sparked by a quote she included in her first pen and ink drawing.
I read a quote from Tigani Nani, and the quote is, when people live far from the scenes of their great spirits making, it's easy for them to forget his laws. So that's when I first started illustrating Indigenous languages and learning so much on how to respect the land from an Indigenous point of view. We actually have Southern Shoshone speakers here, if they would like to come up now. From Yukon.
With language at the forefront, McCallum wanted to share the stage with young speakers. All spoke of how her work helped them on their language journey.
I'm grateful for all those illustrations that you drew. It's beautiful artwork and it helps me understand Dunkey.
In addition to illustrations, McCallum is the creator behind literacy board games, flashcards, and curriculum. More recently, her illustrations were included in the Han language book Shetsi, My Grandpa. Author Georgette McLeod says it's important for young readers to see themselves in the artwork.
You can pull images from there of people's lives at fish camps, at hunting camps, in school, in the communities. I think people really feel that they can connect in that way, and not only just little ones, but adults as well.
As this year's winner, McCallum received a certificate signed by the Premier. She was also awarded a Council of the Federation Literacy Award medallion. She's hopeful her work will help promote language and literacy across the territory.
You have to implant that in them, that there are going to be speakers. There are speakers right now. And the more you speak and your friends speak, it's just going to grow and grow and grow. So it's so important.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Despite its small population, the Yukon has one of the highest proportions of artists in the country. A prize ceremony was held where the winner won $20,000. Our reporter, Sarah Connors, spoke to some of the finalists.
It's hard not to notice Cole Paul's Yukon Indigenous comic books. The illustrations showcase personal stories from Paul's life as well as his Tahltan heritage.
It's the way I communicate to the world, is through sequential images.
Paul's is one of 6 artists shortlisted for the $20,000 Yukon Prize. The biennial award celebrates the very best in Yukon art. Shortlisted artists showcase their work at an opening reception at the Yukon Arts Center Thursday evening. That includes Elena Wachel, an artist of Red River Métis descent. Her work utilizes seed beads to represent digital screenshots of fashion images and focuses on shopping and consumption.
And for me, it was really just investigating how these images had an irrational power over me.
Wachel says she's not focused on the prize winnings. Instead, she's happy her work is being appreciated by new audiences.
I think so far to be a finalist has been awesome, to get this recognition and get a bit of outside exposure, which is super cool.
The Yukon Prize is privately sponsored and is a partnership between the Yukon Arts Foundation, the Yukon Arts Center, and volunteers. It's intended to allow the winner to focus on creating art full-time. Other finalists will each receive $3,000. Paul says he's pleased to see First Nations art celebrated and promoted.
Keeping our work contemporary and keeping it true to our culture at the same time, it's like we're showing that we can do it. We can thrive and survive in colonization.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
A Mohawk singer-songwriter is making sure her voice is heard. More on that after the break. Singer-songwriter Joh Kish is celebrating life with her newest EP, Revolution. APTN talked with Kish about the inspiration for her music. Joh Kish has a powerful voice and a lot to say.
I'm ready to celebrate. I'm ready to feel that sense of pride, and I want to share that.
The singer-songwriter from Welland, Ontario is getting it all out there with her new EP, Revolution.
I wanted to say how strong I feel. And I feel like this new part of my life is a bit of a revolution in the sense where I finally feel strength and pride in like who I am, where I've come from, what I've gone through. And I was ready to say that in a vulnerable way with songs like For Me, but also celebrate with songs like Haunt and Stella.
Collaborations with artists such as Sarah Quinn and Max Kerman mark a first for the artist who usually writes alone.
There were things in my kind of career and in my writing that I felt like I really wanted. Like I wanted to celebrate who I am. I was ready to like celebrate those things and celebrate the strengths, and writing with these people helped kind of bring that out.
A Two-Spirit Mohawk, Kish initially struggled with music industry bigwigs due to homophobia, but decided to be true to herself.
Being Two-Spirit is just like, it's the foundation, it's the very core, it's the very being and the heartbeat of like who I am. It's the spirits of who I am.
She says combining teachings from her culture with the power of music helped her along her journey to self-discovery.
It gave me a voice. It gave me a purpose. It gave me strength. And all of a sudden, throughout the years, I felt like I do have a reason. I do have strength. I can speak on behalf of myself, on behalf of what I've learned, on behalf of what I've experienced, but in turn, be that voice for the person who may not feel that strength quite yet because they haven't gotten there, the place that I was in my younger teens.
Kish says her music saved her life during bouts of depression and encourages others to find power in their struggle.
The power that you have with the pain that you feel, like the strength you have no idea now, but one day you could walk into a room the way I do now and go, actually, that what I felt back then has made me who I am today. And so it's so important to me to share that.
Sab Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg. An Anishinaabe artist in Thunder Bay, Ontario is pursuing his childhood passion of drawing, and his portraits have gone far beyond those early years. Here's that story from September. Jean Bushkagan is from Seine River First Nation in northwestern Ontario, but grew up in Minnesota. A highlight of Bushkagan's career was having his portrait of the late Princess Diana published in a widely distributed British publication in 2007. Bushkagan is hoping to get more commissions and make his art his full-time job.
We've done about 300 commissions throughout North America. Past 4 years, I've just been, killing it. And I've mailed stuff from California to Nova Scotia, from British Columbia to Florida, and Canada Post hasn't let me down once. I just want to say that.
This past August, a 13-year-old graphic design artist from Norway House Cree Nation, Manitoba, designed a new hoodie for her mom's apparel line that was inspired by the Barbie doll. Alexis Mowat-Keeper designed this Indigenous Barbie image. It will be used for some new merchandise that her mother, Janine Mowat, and her business partner, Shayna Gray of Enclave Apparel, will be selling online. Enclave Apparel now sells custom designs and Indigenous-inspired designs online on their website and Facebook page.
Well, because it's trending right now, me and Shayna were talking about incorporating a Barbie-inspired sweater into our new clothing line, and we decided that we would get Alexis to draw it up for us. She's really good with her digital apps and her drawing apps.
A First Nations dance group from the Yukon celebrated its 50th anniversary this fall. Our reporter, Sarah Connors, walks us through the group's history. Here's that story.
When Kevin Bain dances, he feels like he's dancing with his ancestors. The Carcross Teish citizen started dancing with his First Nations dance group, the Teish Nation Dancers, when he was a small child in 1977. He's been with the group ever since.
In between songs, I'll find myself, still moving, so it really brings my spirit up.
The Teish Nation Dancers were formed in 1973 at the Carcross Elementary School by elders Angela Sidney and Clara Schenkel as a way for children to connect with their culture. Since then, the group has evolved to several dancers of all ages who have performed in places all over the world.
It's a sense of pride. I love dancing. Ever since I was small, I loved it. And my kids do it. I have a little 3-year-old. He just loves it. Him and his cousin just steals the show every time.
Now celebrating its 50th anniversary, there's been many changes along the way. For instance, regalia. Bain says in the early days, not many people knew how to make regalia.
We've seen these tremendous regalias coming out, and then started adding the carvings and new drums, everything. So it's really evolved since I started in '73.
For many in the group, dancing is intergenerational. Donna Lesna and Mom Carol have been with the group for decades. Now, Lesna shares the joy of dancing with her 4-year-old son, Jeremiah.
It's amazing, and it feels so good seeing the little ones. Having the little ones dancing with us, drumming and bouncing around. They steal the show every time.
For others, the group is a way to carry on traditional dancing for the next generation.
So they have to know what we're doing here. They have to be a part of it. Once they get connected with it, then it's all them after that, right?
As for Bain, he's excited to see what the next 50 years brings.
It's been really great. I wouldn't change a thing.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Carcross.
Beautiful story. Thanks for that, Sarah. We have to step aside one last time. We'll return after the break. An Indigenous Le Opera took the stage in Winnipeg. It told the story of Métis leader Louis Riel while highlighting the importance of Indigenous women. The sold-out show was spoken and sung in 2 Indigenous languages. Tamara Pimentel has more.
Liqueur Riel's Heart of the North is a celebration of Louis Riel, Métis women and culture. It's the first full-scale Indigenous-led opera and explores a chapter in Riel's life that is often not told.
Often it's a very political narrative and it's very masculinist. And I thought, well, no, I wanted to look at Riel as a human being.
Suzanne Steele is the Métis librettist who wrote Liqueur in partnership with Manitoba Opera.
I wanted to look at how Riel not only loves the land, but in particular I wanted to talk about a love affair at the center of the story, which very few people know of.
Louis Riel was a Métis leader and a founder of the province of Manitoba. He led 2 resistance movements against the Canadian government and was hanged for treason in 1885. This week he was officially named first Premier of Manitoba. Liqueur shows the impact Riel had on future generations, and it's spoken and sung in Michif and Anishinaabe Moan, along with French and English.
This is really an Indigenous approach to telling opera. We have a 21st century student who's kind of stressing about identity, and she gets a mystical visit by her mamère, her grandmother, who is a trapper and shooter, and just someone who reminds the young girl about who she is, and she tells stories of the mamère tells stories of the buffalo hunt in 1870 and about Riel, and especially about the women.
Steele's daughter, Ellis Spikeen, was alongside her mother through the years of research it took for this production to happen.
In 2017, we took a 10,000 kilometer road trip through the heartland of Métis country, and we spent time at St. Peter's in Montana, looking at the ruins of the school where Riel taught. We worked in the archives together. For me, though, as a Métis woman, it's really exciting to see our story being told.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A new children's show recently wrapped up production and will be coming to APTN next year. We met with the host to see what kids and adults alike can look forward to. An artist from Big Stone Cree Nation in Alberta is making his television debut with a fun kids show about art, crafts, and Indigenous teachings.
Indigenous Art Adventures with Lance Cardinal is going to be a super exciting cultural adventure of art, song, drumming, language, culture, and of course, children interaction. It's going to be a fun adventure.
Indigenous Art Adventures with Lance Cardinal started out as a YouTube series. It quickly caught the attention of APTN. Cardinal says he focuses on developing kids' creativity.
I feel like through art, kids can express themselves in different ways, through feelings, through color, through their physical touch, and kids all learn differently. And I think it's important for us to try to find ways for kids to feel good, not only through success in sports or academics, but also creativity.
Viewers will learn how to make dream catchers, rattles, and puppets of jingle dress dancers. But most importantly, they'll learn about culture.
I do love that. These things we're doing for the show are based on some of the 7 sacred grandfather teachings. We're talking about protocol, ceremony. We're talking about how to smudge, showing the kids exactly what it means, how to do it, how to actually perform a smudge. So we're really taking, what we know as Indigenous people and creating a teaching, and then based on that teaching, we'll do a craft so people can use.
It's a passion project for Cardinal. He grew up finding refuge in children's shows like Mr. Dress Up, and says now his journey has come full circle.
Growing up as a young Two-Spirit boy in my community, there was not a lot of people for me to look up to, no one to sort of have as a mentor in my life. So for me, these children's television hosts became the people in my life that influenced me, who told me that I was good enough, that I was important, that what I did was okay, and I really valued that part of my growing up as a kid. And I wanted to do that now as an adult, to make sure that kids now felt the same way.
The show is slated to premiere next spring on APTN and APTN Lumi. Sav Jonza, APTN National News, Winnipeg. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. For news anytime, head on over to our website at aptnnews.ca. Next time we air will be in the new year, so please have a great rest of your 2023, and we look forward to seeing you in 2024. Have a great night.